Hello, and greetings to all of our friends out there in the audience. So I have been facilitating both groups, the Columbia group and the Lake of the Ozarks group. And my talk today will be primarily to caregivers. I'm hoping it will be helpful to those of you who are diagnosed with Parkinson's also. 29 years ago, when my husband David was 44, I instantly became a caregiver when we heard the diagnosis, "You have Parkinson's." We came back to the car, looked at each other, and said, "Did you hear what I heard?" And that was the start of two roles that changed our lives: person with Parkinson's and caregiver. Over the years, I've learned a lot both as a caregiver and as a support group leader, so I thought I would share some of my own experiences and also a text that I received 2 days ago. When I asked my friend Joanne what she would like to tell you, she said, "Nothing is more rewarding than caregiving for a loved one. Love, patience, and laughter is the key." So that will set the tone for this talk. Before I go on, I'd like to ask all caregivers in this room to stand. Just stand straight up. Now just look around there. We have some fantastic caregivers, and yes, applause is in order. We're all in this together, all of us. So David and I spent 28 years with Parkinson's as our constant companion. We had great care right here in Columbia, but we moved to the lake so that David could play golf, and he said, "Let's start a Parkinson's support group." And so we did. When we moved back home to Columbia, we led the group here. David wanted other people with Parkinson's to talk to and learn from. And in case you haven't noticed, that's David all over the screen. And notice the Superman shirt particularly. In those 28 years, he served as our Parkinson's textbook since he had about every procedure, therapy, and drug there was, even DBS in 2004. And that was actually pretty early. Last year, David died, and I grieve. I don't think you ever get over that. I knew that this would happen, but I really was not ready. And so, like the progression of Parkinson's, caregivers must progress too. So from day one of the diagnosis, my recommendation would be start with both of you learning all you can about the disease itself, because education is power. And it will help if you come to a support group meeting and make friends. It's an easy way to understand the disease, and it will give you the socialization that you need. Pick up literature and hear great speakers on all things Parkinson's. Start today. Fill out a form at the support group table out in the foyer, or right there on the table, there's a form for you to fill out. And then hand that to the volunteers at the door or out in the foyer. You will then receive monthly flyers that will tell you all about our meetings on the first Thursday of each month at 4 p.m. in Columbia, and the third Thursday of each month at noon at the Lake of the Ozarks. And pick up a business card too, so that you can call me with any questions that come up about support groups. So let's get started. From the very beginning of your Parkinson's journey, both of you should go to the neurologist together. We feel very strongly about that. It will take 2 sets of ears to comprehend it all. Bring a written list of questions and prioritize those questions. Talk about what changes are occurring. Don't withhold information. You're all on the same team. Make the best use of the minutes you have with your Parkinson's specialist, and so ask questions and take those notes. Since Parkinson's is different for every person, you can't really compare yourself with others. You may not see changes at first, but it will become more complicated as your loved one progresses. You will learn about medications, surgical options such as DBS, and therapies that will help with movement, speech, swallowing, and other challenges. Over the years, medications will need to be managed. Behavioral changes may pop up. Dementia may develop as the years pass. It will be important that you, the caregiver, and your loved one function as a team and respect one another. It's hard on both of you. That will help when big decisions are made, like whether it's time to stop driving, management of finances, household issues, and there may even be some power struggles and stubborn behavior. Maybe you've encountered that. All of this will affect your loving relationship, but by discussing these early, you will consider the wishes of both of you and work as a team. At some point, you will both discuss your housing choices. Should you consider a smaller place? Maybe a one-level home, no steps, easy maintenance? Or a housing option like an apartment, or assisted living, or eventually skilled nursing may come about. Should you continue living where everybody knows your name and where you're comfortable? Or should you move closer to your children or to other family? You might consider your ages, needs, and whether one of you may be living alone one day. Thankfully, you will likely have time to consider these issues together. And you can consult with professionals to help with such things as advanced health care, directives, wills, trusts, even end-of-life planning. We shouldn't forget support professionals who can help us with counseling and spiritual guidance. This will help so much as you cope with the changes that occur as Parkinson's progresses. You may begin to question yourself sometimes. You wonder if you're making the right decisions, but you know your loved one's needs better than anyone, so trust yourself. You are doing the best you can do with what you know at the time. Please avoid making promises you may not be able to keep, like you will always stay in your home. It may be tempting to put your loved one at ease, but it may not always be possible as the disease progresses. Support groups are helpful places to attend events like Caregivers Day Out. Learn about what other caregivers find helpful and get practical tips. And this gives you other caregivers to talk with. As your role evolves, take one day at a time. Issues will be much easier to handle in little bites. And by the way, give up the concept of perfection. It's a waste of time. That's generally the case. Don't hesitate to ask for help when you need a break. You will need to take care of yourself and get away sometimes. So consider paid caregivers who can meet your needs and give your loved one a break too. Or are there family members close by? Find someone else to mow the lawn. Accept people's offers to help. They really do want to help you both. You will both need social contacts, so do lunch with your friends and feel like your old selves. Or have friends over for a visit. Socialization is important for both of you. Exercise for both of you will be a huge relief, and it's enjoyable. Even short walks or yoga classes online or in person are terrific stress relievers. There are great materials on Parkinson's exercises available through the Parkinson's Foundation and the APDA, which is American Parkinson's Disease Association, and they're out there in the foyer today, so you can ask them about exercise tips. Our Parkinson's support group is getting a ping pong for Parkinson's and pickleball for Parkinson's groups going, so keep those in mind. One of them at least shouldn't hurt you. So, for the safety of your loved one, you sometimes will need to say no. So learn to trust yourself to say it when it needs to be said. You may even learn how to load and unload a wheelchair in the back of your car and do it in one smooth motion. My personal best was 12 times in one day. Before I end this talk, I have to discuss the 7 negative emotions of caregiving, and these are what we want to watch out for. These emotions could not only undermine your good work, but also harm your health. So let's just touch on them and ways of coping with the stresses of caregiving. Emotion number 1, guilt. I'm sure you can identify with that one. Guilt comes from feeling that you are wrong and that you're not doing enough. Maybe those oughts, shoulds, and musts get in the way. So lower your standards from ideal to real. Maybe a B+ rather than an A+. Guilt is unavoidable, so get comfortable with the gap between perfection and reality, and don't beat yourself up. Emotion number 2, resentment. Most of us don't like to admit this. Without enough support or non-caregiving outlets, feelings of being ignored, abandoned, or criticized can fester into anger and maybe even depression. Simply talking to a trusted friend can offer some relief, or try journaling. Resentment is very natural in long-term caregiving, but know that you can feel this emotion yet still be a good person and a good caregiver. Emotion number 3, anger. Almost no one is never angry. Instead of trying to avoid anger, learn to express it in healthy ways. Deep breathing makes you calmer, and it's easy. I just saw this again on TV this morning where they were telling you to breathe and sit and meditate, and all of those things really do work. We do them in yoga. Talk yourself down with a chant like, "It's okay, let it go." Maybe take a quick walk. Emotion number 4, worry. Sometimes we can't turn off the fretting. Oh, please avoid what if thinking. Stay in the moment and live one day at a time. And if possible, find a trained counselor or find someone to talk with about the issues that are causing the worry. Emotion number 5, loneliness. Very common. You may find that friends back away because they feel uncertain or in the way. You may have had to drop out of outside activities. So expand your social circle. Talk by phone with friends or arrange respite care so you can get out more. And of course, join a support group, either for Parkinson's or caregiving specifically. There are many great online support groups, and you will learn so much. I have friends who swear by this as a relief. Caregiver emotion number 6, grief. Although most people link grief with death, anticipatory grief is a similar emotion felt by caregivers who are coping with a loved one's long-term chronic illness. Know that your feelings are normal and are as painful as real postmortem grief. Allow yourself to feel sadness and tell your loved one about it. Talk to others about it. Don't feel you have to have a happy face all the time. And try to live a life outside of caregiving that will support you now and later. Caregiver emotion number 7, defensiveness. Protecting yourself is good to a point. It's natural to bristle at a suggestion that there might be a better approach, especially if you're feeling stressed or insecure. Try not to take everything you hear personally. If you start from a point of calm and confidence, the focus becomes your loved one, not you. Of course, the calm and confident part is sometimes the hard part. With all I've said today, just know that we caregivers know exactly what you and your loved one are going through, and you're doing it with love and usually a smile. You will rely on one another and support one another. I'd like to offer a toast, so grab your water bottle. Yeah, that's all we got. So I'd like to offer a toast to all caregivers, male or female, who keep us all going, and to the ones we care for who will stay in our hearts forever. We can do this together. Toast. Thank you. It's so good to talk to you.